up guys, it's Fenton here, this is my buddy Matt, and welcome to Zygrene's top 5 driver's cars of 2016. This is not going to be a list of the top 5 cars that are available out on the market today. This is actually just a list of my personal favorite 5 cars that I've reviewed since my YouTube channel started about a year ago.
Yeah.
And so I've actually driven over 50 different cars since my YouTube channel started. And when I realized that, my buddy Matt and I, we kind of thought, well, how about let's do a video on like the top 5 cars that we've driven in terms of, just driving experience and just the subjective way it made me feel when I was, driving it through the canyons. So without further ado, number 5 is going to have to go to the 2005 Lotus Elise. That car is just everything pretty much I love about a small, lightweight, mid-engine sports car. Naturally aspirated, high revving, 2ZZ Toyota motor, revs to like 8,000 RPMs, super lightweight, weighs barely over a ton, and it's a true driver's car. You can take the top off, and I actually liked it more than the 300 horsepower supercharged Siege I drove, just because it's a little bit more of a pure driving experience, and it's everything I love about like a lightweight sports car.
Coming in at number 4 is the Nissan Skyline R32 gts-t.
Yes, so the gts-t was the very first right-hand drive car that I've driven, and it was the first JDM car. So, those 2 firsts for me, and that in itself made it kind of a special experience, but those aren't enough, qualities to make it one of the best driver's cars I've driven. The car itself actually is just amazing to drive.
Yeah.
The RB20 inline 6 makes about 250 horsepower, it revs out to 7,000 happily. It sounds amazing. It sounds practically as good as like the full-blown RB26 in my opinion. It's lightweight, rear-wheel drive, a little bit more of a pure driver's car than the GTR in my opinion. So that one comes in at number 4. So number 3 would have to go to the 330 horsepower SR20 DET swapped Datsun 510. And I'm sure this one is not a surprise to many of you guys, because that car obviously was just something special. 330 horsepower, 1,900 pounds, rear-wheel drive, no power steering, no power brakes, missing throttle pedal, so I was literally trying to heel-toe using like a rod as the throttle. Ridiculous turbo lag, which made it just hilarious to drive. Every time I would roll onto the boost, it was just all hell broke loose. And yes, it is a 44-year-old car, but just the pure, raw driving experience of that thing is just, it makes it high on the list. I only drove the car for about half an hour, and that was not nearly enough time for me to get even past the learning curve of that car, which is pretty steep. But even that in itself, driving it at maybe 60% of its capabilities was just an absolute riot. So definitely number 3.
Coming in at number 2, which is my personal favorite because I'm a Toyota fanboy, is the Supra.
Yes, the 700 horsepower E85 Supra. So that car is a little bit surprising for me actually that I picked it as number 2, because if you notice, the rest of the other 3 cars we just mentioned are all like lightweight, handling, visceral, but the Supra is nothing like that. It's kind of boat-like in a way. It's not the best handling car in terms of cornering speed and traction, but I can forgive all of that when I roll onto the boost. Above 4,000 RPMs, 700 horsepower, 600 horsepower at the wheels, ridiculous turbo lag, even more than the Datsun 510 I would say, and that glorious 2JZ sound. I didn't even push it in the corners. All I had to do was do some 3rd gear and 4th gear pulls in a straight line. That in itself was a really crazy experience, and that was enough to make it number 2 for me.
Toyota. Okay. What else? Coming down to the number 1 choice, Fenton. What is your 2016 best driver's car?
So, before you guys say I'm biased, I am biased. I will fully admit to it. My number 1 favorite driving car of my channel so far would have to go to the 1992 Acura NSX that was converted to emulate a 2002 NSX Type R. It embodies everything I love about driving the NSX without some of the extra fluff that the stock car like mine adds, like the weight. So that car had 300 pounds stripped out of its core weight, so around 2,700 pounds, full intake, exhaust, headers, injectors, all the goodies. And it had the JDM short gears, it had the JRZ coilovers, really sticky tires, and it's just an absolute joy to drive. Really opened my eyes to what is capable when you go fully modified on an NSX. And even though the horsepower was pretty much stock, probably around 300 at the crank, surprisingly, I enjoy that car more than the Clarion NSX. But you know, it's just a matter of purity. The Clarion car was great, but in terms of the pure driving experience, it felt a little heavy, a little less nimble than that Type R conversion.
Sure.
So that one is definitely number one for me. That's a car that I kind of serve as like a halo car for me in terms of what I eventually want to do to my NSX once time and money permits.
Cool. All right, and what would a top 5 list be without an honorable mention? And I think there is a car that definitely deserves to be on here, but it's definitely hard to put it up there with the top 5. So what is your honorable mention?
Yeah, and some of you guys might actually be surprised this car didn't make the top 5, knowing like, you know, my preference for cars. The honorable mention will have to go to the 400 horsepower supercharged AP2 S2000. That was a little surprising to me when I first went into that review and started driving that car. I was thinking this car might just feel a little bit too overpowered for the chassis, but I was very pleasantly surprised. Even though with 400 horsepower, it's, you know, probably a 60 or 70% increase over stock. The power band was super linear. It still embodied everything I love about the S2000, but just straight line performance was just on a different level.
Sure.
You know, perfect shifter, really good steering, perfect pedal placement, great chassis, and driving with the top down, you can't beat it. So that one definitely deserves an honorable mention.
All right, guys, that's a wrap on Zygrene's top driver cars of 2016. And yeah, so that being said, a new year is going to be rolling in, and we want to go out there and review your cars. So yeah, let us know if there's a car that you want us to take a look at and, you know, experience the driving behind it. And we can see you guys next time for the next year for another top 5 video.
Yeah, and just I wanted to shout out to all my subscribers who have been supporting me since I created the channel. Thank you so much for the support. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to drive so many cool cars. People wouldn't be, you know, even thinking about letting me drive their pride and joy. And it's just been a crazy experience. I never thought I'd be able to drive so many cool cars in such a short span of time and grow the channel as far as I have. Still have a long ways to go, but you know, with your support, I'll definitely get there. So thank you guys again.
Peace. So now we're carving the roads of Akina. And we're doing the uphill right now, and there's no FD following, so I think we're winning.
Oh yeah.
No FD in sight. La Honda. Even this road's called La Honda. Like, give me a fucking break here.
Dude,
like,
that was not intentional.
La Honda road, like, come on.
Not a fanboy.
Enjoy this hairpin in your non-power steering.
Oh God.